Okay, flip to the back. Second example of how we're going to apply all that we've learned here in grade 10. The sum of squares of two positive consecutive odd numbers is 130. Determine the two numbers. It's a lot of information right there. The sum of squares of two positive consecutive odd numbers. So I want to just break that down. Consecutive means in a row. If we think about any numbers that kind of follow this pattern in a row, odd numbers are really going like that. So they're going up by 2. And it's important to realize that as we start our let statements. So because of that, we want some let statements. Well, determine the two numbers. Let's do two numbers. Let x be the first. Now for the second number, you can do two variables or one variable, depending on what you're comfortable with. Ultimately, if you go two variables, you're going to use substitution or elimination to get one variable, solve for one variable, and then we have the numbers. Now, as soon as I see the sum of squares, that's going to tell me something, and that to me as the teacher, or someone who's done it a few times, is telling me I want to use one variable. So I want to talk about x, and I'm going to talk about this one as x. If it goes up by 2, then my second number is going to be x plus 2. So whatever that number is, no matter what, the next odd number is 2 more. So now I have to create my formula, my equation, solve. So the sum of squares, two positive numbers, is 130. So we got a lot of information there. So the sum of squares. So the squares is going to be that squared, so the first number squared, the second number squared, and we need the sum of them equals 130. The sum of squares of two positive numbers. If we said the square of the sum, this is where English language is different. The square of the sum, we would do the sum first, and then we would take the square. So we collect like terms, and then remember that means 2 of what's in the brackets, not that squared and that squared, because we miss the middle term when we think about how we distribute, binomial distribution. Okay, so English language. Let's look at this one. There it is, set up. Okay, let's math. Now remember that for FOIL really means x plus 2 times x plus 2. This is where now our practice and our understanding start to come in handy. 2 times x times 2. Collect like terms. Bring everything to one side. 4 minus 130. We got a quadratic. Our ultimate goal, we want to find x. Factor. Is there a common factor? First step. Always, is there a common factor? They're all even. There we go. Now again, I continue factoring. I need two numbers that multiply to negative 63 and add to 2. 9 times 7, 63. They add to positive 2, and a positive 9 and negative 7. So from there, again, I got my solutions. So x equals negative 9 and x equals positive 7. Go back to the question, and it specifically says positive ones. Because of that, we can omit. We don't care about that one right now. Because the question only wanted positive numbers. So, x equals 7. We got it. So there's our two numbers, 7 and 9. Therefore, the two numbers are 7 and 9. Look at the unit outline and practice solving these types of questions, applying your knowledge.